Kingdom Fungi. The fungi constitute a unique kingdom of heterotrophic organisms. They show a great diversity in morphology and habitat. You must have seen fungi on mustard bread and roasted fruits. The common mushroom you eat and the toadstools are also fungi. White spots seen on mustard leaves are due to parasitic fungus. Some unicellular fungi, is example yeast, are used to make bread and beer. Other fungi causes diseases in plants and animals. Wheat rust causing Puccinia is an important example. Some are the source of antibiotics, example penicillium. Fungi are cosmopolitan and occurs in air, water and soil and on animals and plants. They prefer to grow in warm and humid places. Have you ever wondered why we keep the food in refrigerator? As it is to prevent food from going bad due to bacterial or fungal infections. With the exception of yeast, which are unicellular, fungi are filamentous. Their body consists of long, slender-like structures called hyphae, and the network of hyphae is known as mycelium. Some hyphae are continuous tubes filled with multinucleated cytoplasm. These are called coinocytic hyphae. Others have septa or cross walls in their hyphae, and the cell walls of fungi are composed of chitin and polysaccharides. Most fungi are heterotrophic and absorb soluble organic matter from dead substrates and hence called saprophytes. Those that depend on the living plants and animals are called parasites. They can also live as symbionts in association with algae as lichens. With roots of higher plants are called mycorrhiza. Reproduction in fungi can take place by vegetative means, fragmentation, fission, and budding. Asexual reproduction is by spores, conidia, or sporangiospores or zoospores, and sexual reproduction is by oospores, ascospores, or basidiospores. The various spores are produced in distinct structures called fruiting bodies. The sexual cycle involves three steps: fusion of protoplasms between the two motile or two non-motile gametes is called plasmogamy. Fusion of two nuclei is called karyogamy. Meiosis is in zygote resulting in haploid spores. When a fungus reproduces sexually, two haploid hyphae of compatible mating types come together and fuse. In some fungi, the fusion of two haploid cells immediately results in diploid cells 2n. However, in other fungi, ascomycetes and basidiomycetes, an intertwining dikaryotic stage n plus n, two nuclei per cells occurs. Such condition is called dikaryon, and the phase is called dikaryophase of fungus. Later, the parental nuclei fuses, the cell becomes diploid. The fungi form fruiting bodies in which reduction division occurs, leading to the formation of haploid spores. The morphology of mycelium, mode of spores formation, and fruiting bodies form the basis of the division of the kingdom into various classes. This is a PYQ here. Next, phycomycetes. Members of phycomycetes are found in aquatic habitats, on decaying wood, in moist and damp places, or as obligated parasites on plants. The mycelium is aseptate and coniocytic. Asexual reproduction takes place by zoospores. They are motile, or by aplanospores or non-motile. These spores are endogenously produced in sporangium. A zygospore is formed by fusion of two gametes. These gametes are similar in morphology, is known as isogamous, or dissimilar anisogamous or oogamous. Some common examples are mucor, you can see in the picture A, and rhizopus, a bread mold. Albugo is a parasitic fungi on mustard. Next, ascomycetes. The commonly known as sac fungi. The ascomycetes are mostly multicellular, example penicillin, are rarely unicellular in yeast, also known as Saccharomyces. There are saprophytic decomposers, parasitic or coprophilous, are growing on dung. Mycelium is next. Before that, the first one is mucor, And the next one is Aspergillus, and this is our mushroom agaricus. You can see the names here. And the next mycelium is branched and septate. The asexual spores are conidia produced exogenously on the special mycelium called conidiospores. The conidia on germination produce mycelium. Sexual spores are called ascospores, which are produced endogenously in sac-like asci, singular ascus. These asci are arranged in different types of fruiting bodies called ascocarps. Some examples are Aspergillus. You can see in the figure 2, claviceps and neurospora. Neurospora is used extensively in biochemical and genetic work. Many members like morels and truffles are edible and considered delicacies. Basidiomycetes. Commonly known form of basidiomycetes are mushroom and bracket fungi or puffballs. They grow in soil, on logs and tree stumps and living in plant bodies as parasites. Rust and smuts. The mycelium is branched and septate. The asexual spores are generally not found, but vegetative reproduction by fragmentation is common. The sex organs are absent, but plasmogamy is brought by fusion of two vegetative and somatic cells of different strains or genotypes. The resultant structure is dikaryotic, which is ultimately give rise to basidium. The karyogamy and meiosis takes place in the basidium, producing 4 basidiospores. The basidiospores are exogenously produced on the basidium. Basidia are arranged in the fruiting body called basidiocarps. Some common members are agaricus and it is mushroom, Ustilago it's mut, and Puccinia is a rust fungus. These are the PYQ's previous year questions. Next, Deuteromycetes. Commonly known as imperfect fungi because only the sexual or vegetative phases of these fungi are known. When the sexual form of these fungi are discovered, they are moved into a classes they rightly belong to. It is possible that asexual and vegetative state have been given one name and placed under Deuteromycetes. The sexual stage another and the placed under another class. Later, when the linkages were established, the fungi were correctly identified and moved out of the Deuteromycetes. Once the perfect sexual stages of the members of Deuteromycetes were discovered, they were often moved to Ascomycetes and Basidiomycetes. The Deuteromycetes reproduce only by asexual spores known as conidia. The mycelium is septate and branched. Some members are saprophytes or parasites, while a large number of them are decomposers of a litter and helps in mineral cycling. Some of the examples are Alternaria, Colatricum, and Trichoderma.